Hey there, Nesh Nikolic here. I wanted to talk about managing panic attacks today. It's an inquiry I get all the time about how do I go out and manage panic attacks. I'm experiencing panic attacks. They're starting to take over my life, my world, and I want to be able to manage them more effectively. So today I'm going to go out and give you some tips to go out and address some of that and to give you an idea about how you might go about next time you experience a panic attack. Before we start that, I want to go out and talk about this philosophically first. And the philosophy around this is, I'm going to offer you some ideas or some strategies, but I don't want you necessarily to take this just as a strategy. I want you to consider this as being an approach or a stance that we would hold when panic attacks come up. What do I mean by this? There's a very, very good understanding that the more I try and remove a panic attack, change a panic attack, get rid of a panic attack, even sometimes just manage a panic attack, they all have a fighting basis to it, a removing, a pushing away from. And so what we know is that the things that we try and push away from, trying to get rid of, we actually give more power to, we give more force and energy to. And so rather than trying to push away, what I'm asking you to do is to, in some sense, quit the fight. Let's not fight these feelings anymore. So let's look at how this might look. A standard panic attack might have some of these elements. You might have pressure in your chest, difficulties in breathing, a feeling of smothering, dryness in the mouth, churning in your stomach, trembling, dizziness, a change in your vision, maybe becoming more blurry or sharp. These sorts of sensations and feelings often do come up. Even a sense of feeling like you're going crazy or feeling like you're trapped, you need to get away. Now, as you can imagine, anything like that is going to feel terrible, awful. And what we are so compelled to do is to run away, to get away from the situation or to control these feelings. Nothing could be further from the truth in terms of psychologically. I don't think that's going to go out and help. Absolutely the vast majority of the time at least. So this is what I want to go out and offer you. We want to go out and have this stance of, in some sense, surrendering, right? Allowing for those feelings to be there. To not go out and fight, but rather go out and make room for. So the first thing I would go out and say is sit down. Don't try and achieve anything. Don't try and get anywhere. Don't go out and have this sort of fighting stance. Sit down, try and make yourself as comfortable as possible. If you're able to, find a bottle of water, or maybe someone can bring you some water, just to go out and sip as you need it, right? I'm trying to get you into a comfortable space, somewhere where you feel safe again. Having said that, you're unlikely to feel safe while all of this is going on because you haven't probably practiced living with and opening up to this experience and just sitting there. So sit down, have a little bit of water. Then I'd like to introduce some breathing. And a lot of you have probably heard about breathing, controlled breathing, all sorts of different styles of breathing. I'm not too concerned about how you go out and do this, but there are some elements that I'd like you to appreciate. So I want you to breathe. Now, the elements that I'm trying to introduce here is taking in a breath, probably through your nose because they're already restricted with your nostrils. So hold for whatever's comfortable for you. I don't want you to go and hold for too long. I don't want you to hold, too little and try and get through the process too quick. And then exhale. Now, the exhale is where we tend to get most of our relief. You'll see usually, and I'll exaggerate this in a moment, but you'll see usually people's chest, stomach might rise. And then when they release with the exhale, it'll tend to fall down. Now, that's obviously a gross exaggeration, but there will be the rising and the falling. And in the falling, we tend to get that relief. I'd encourage you to try and have a breath that comes from your abdomen, like, a belly sort of breath. But at the same time, when you're in this sort of panic, I'm not too concerned. Just breathe as well as you can and concentrate on that exhale. I don't want you to necessarily feel wonderful and fantastic and have to breathe perfectly. At the very, very start, you're going to have short and shallow breaths. They're going to be rapid, and you're going to find it difficult to go out and breathe like this. So each breath, just very, very marginally, and over a period of time, extend the breath. All I want you to consider though is don't force it. Just don't force it. If you force it, even the out breath would look like this. Now, what you might not have noticed in seeing that is I was actually having to tense and to try and push out the breath. And that's obviously going to create more tension, more agitation, and so on. So sit down, have some water, and breathe. Just extending that breath in a comfortable way, very slowly over time, making more time in between those different cycles of breath. You might find that after a period of time, one cycle, which is the inhale, the hold, the exhale, might take 15 seconds. What you'll recognize then is that if you're only having 4 breaths a minute, each of them being 15 seconds, your heart rate would more than likely start to decrease. You'll find that you feel more settled. You'll find that those sensations that I described before will somewhat reduce in their intensity. So we're trying to breathe in doing so. Now, this is one of the key parts of all of this, is to be patient. Right? Patience is really, really, really important in this space. So being patient, sitting there, making room for weathering the storm. So we've got to sit down, have a little bit of water, make yourself comfortable, breathe, and be patient. Don't try and fight the panic attack. Don't try and get rid of it. And hence why even managing panic attacks almost infers that you need to go out and do something. I'm kind of saying you actually don't need to do anything really. Sit down, breathe as you naturally would, and be patient. Wait it out, weather the storm. Really, really important to do so. And maybe at the very, very end, if I just add an additional one here, I might go out and say, reflect. At the end of all of this, take a seat to kind of consider and think about, how did I go out and sit there? Was I fighting it, or was I surrendering and allowing it to be? Did I make room for it, or was I trying to push it out? If you could go out and reflect, you might see the nuances about how you are facing and how you are showing up when panic attacks arise.